All right, folks, this is hilarious and it tells us so much. I want you all to watch Donald Trump's face as his own attorney general, the sycophantic Pam Bondi, effectively tells him no to his face on live TV in front of other people. Check it out.
Speaking of Democrats, there's a report that there's a grand jury on Adam Schiff for apparent mortgage fraud. If he is indicted, should he step down as a U.S. Senator?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. I would just say Adam Schiff is one of the lowest forms of scum I've ever dealt with in politics. He's a horrible human being, very dishonest person. I have no idea what's going on. You tell me that he's going to be indicted. I don't know. You could ask Pam. I don't know if she could say it. Probably you are allowed to say it, but I wouldn't know about that. I can only tell you he's a very bad. I think he's actually a sick person. Do you want to talk about that?
We're not going to comment on any grand jury that's open. We can't legally.
I don't know. By the way, I hope it's true, but I don't know anything about it.
Do you see the look on his face? I love it. She not only contradicted him, she effectively told him no. Two things you don't do to Donald Trump probably ever. And certainly not in front of other people. And certainly not in front of other people and on live TV. This was going on Fox News. Fox News was carrying this. I don't know. I think we can comment on it, right? Pam, do you have anything to say? We are not going to comment on this. We can't legally. I hope it's true. He had to throw that one. Look at his face. It's just, this tells you just so much about Donald Trump's relationship with his subordinates, with the Justice Department, with the notion of law and order, with legal rules and stipulations. He just genuinely thinks he's above it all. He thinks he's entitled to be above it all. And he is so petulant and pissed that he's not the God King he desperately wants to be. Speaking of Adam Schiff, Democratic senator and archenemy of Donald Trump, who has been targeted, let's look at some recent developments. This is some reporting. It's being contradicted, okay? There's a question about whether or not this is the case, but let's look at some of the recent reporting. Breaking. The top federal prosecutor in Maryland has notified the Justice Department that she sees no basis for prosecuting Adam Schiff on allegations of mortgage fraud. Exclusive with Carol Lunick. The federal prosecutor in charge of investigating whether Adam Schiff should be charged with mortgage fraud recently told her bosses in Washington she did not think the case was strong enough to move forward. Two sources familiar with the matter told MSNBC. A third person familiar with the matter said the case is continuing to be investigated. Kelly Hayes, the U.S. attorney in Maryland, met in recent days with Todd Blanche, the deputy attorney general, to update him on the Schiff case, the three people said. Hayes, an experienced federal prosecutor, told Blanche she did not think the case against Schiff was strong, two people said. The two said Ed Martin, a controversial senior Justice Department official, is pressing to keep the case alive. Now, in response to this, I saw somewhere where Todd Blanche is questioning this, is contradicting this. Let's take a look. Breaking. Ken Delaney, reports on a recent meeting that never happened. Can I ask who your two sources are for more info? I'm genuinely curious. Excited to hear more about this made-up meeting. Also, unequivocally, U.S. Attorney Hayes has told me no such thing. So that's according to Todd Blanche. So he seems to be disagreeing with this. Let's take a look again at some of the reporting, though, until it's contradicted further still. Prosecutor told DOJ that there's not enough evidence to indict Trump foe, Senator Adam Schiff. U.S. Attorney of Maryland told supervisors of the Department of Justice that she doesn't believe there's strong enough evidence to charge Senator Adam Schiff with mortgage fraud. Trump has called on Attorney General Pam Bondi to criminally charge the California Democrat, a staunch critic of Trump who has acted as a prosecutor in Trump's first impeachment trial. MSNBC, citing three people familiar with the matter, reported that Hayes met with Todd Blanche to update him on her investigation of Schiff. One of the people who spoke to MSNBC said the investigation of Schiff is ongoing. The DOJ declined comment to CNBC about the report. CNBC has requested comment from Schiff's attorney, Preet Bharara, and the senator's office and Hayes. Bharara, in a statement in August, had called allegations against Schiff, quote, transparently false, stale, and long debunked. Schiff, in a video statement in July addressing the probe, said, quote, this is the kind of stuff you see tin pot dictators do. Quote, it's designed to intimidate his political opponents and somehow try to silence them, said Schiff at a time. Trump, in his September 20th social media post, which, by the way, again, according to the Wall Street Journal, he meant to send her as a direct message via Truth Social direct message function, but stupidly, accidentally, publicly posted it, urged Bondi to prosecute Schiff and two other foes, former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. Comey and James were recently separately indicted by federal grand juries in Virginia after the interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District in Virginia, Eric Siebert, resigned under pressure from Trump after questioning the evidence against them. James is accused of mortgage fraud as well. Comey is accused of lying in Congress in testimony in 2020. Both deny any wrongdoing, and both of them, I believe, have just filed motions to have the cases against them dismissed. And I think both of them are filing motions on the basis that the new U.S. attorney, Lindsay Halligan, a former insurance attorney and personal attorney of Trump's, was improperly appointed to the position. And I want to say in Comey's case, there was also either in that complaint or maybe it was a separate complaint that he also mentioned malicious prosecution, which is a high burden, but Trump has made it relatively simple given his public screeds on Truth Social and on camera for years, demanding that these people be prosecuted. So if there's a case to be made ever for malicious and selective prosecution, it is this Donald Trump going after his political foes. But again, I want to go back to the fact that Donald Trump is obviously visibly pissed at being told no by Pam Bondi. This is so important. Of all of Trump's attorney generals, he had Jeff Sessions in his first term. He had Bill Barr in his first term. He had an acting attorney general after Barr left, I think sometime in November. So between November and January 20th, November 2020 and January 20th, 2021, there was an interim attorney general, and I can't remember the guy's name. And then, of course, you have Pam Bondi, going so far since day one, 9 months into the Trump administration. Of all of them, Pam Bondi is by far the most incompetent, the most ruthlessly partisan, and the most unprincipled. But apparently even she has her limits. Even she. Now, it doesn't vindicate her, doesn't make her good. She's still a shitty attorney general, a corrupt attorney general, a terrible attorney general. The next Democratic president should prosecute her. He should sick his attorney general on her. That's how terrible she is. But even she is like, if we're going to do some illegal shit, if we're going to politically prosecute our opponents, Mr. President, we got to do it on the DL. We can't be quite so egregious with it. But again, it goes to the sense of entitlement that Trump has. Trump believes that he should never be told no by his attorney general because the attorney general works for him, not just in terms of broad policy, but basically as a personal attorney, hatchet man or hatchet woman or Rottweiler for him to sick on other people. He doesn't like that there are legal rules and constrictions. Now, in his defense, to the extent that he has any, this sort of entitlement, I suppose, makes sense because he's just been bulldozing through legal and normative constraints on executive power. He's not used to hearing the word no, and that's perhaps a problem. Maybe his subordinates should be telling him no more often so that when this shit happens, he doesn't take it quite so visibly, furiously. But this is the problem. We are 9 months in, and Donald Trump is going for broke. Again, in 3 weeks, I believe it was, in the span of 3 weeks, you had James Comey, then Letitia James, then John Bolton, his former national security advisor. And listen, of the three, the case against Bolton is by far the strongest. Actual respected, professional prosecutors thought there was a case to be made against Bolton, unlike the case for James Comey and Letitia James. However, even the case with Bolton, there is some degree of doubt about that because, again, Trump has made it very clear for years that he has wanted his former national security advisor, John Bolton, to be prosecuted. So even in what appears to be a valid case, that John Bolton willfully retained classified documents, even in that, relatively credible case, Trump has poisoned the well and has made it easier, even if it's ultimately unsuccessful, for John Bolton to potentially get this thing dismissed because he can't help himself. He believes he is entitled to act like a king. And that's incredibly dangerous. We've never had a president like that. Even President Nixon was nowhere near as egregiously corrupt and authoritarian as Donald Trump. And that says something. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.